2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25, and you're still not profitable. Yes, I know it's a familiar story, definitely since we had the COVID situation and people jumped into trading to get that extra income, and you just can't seem to get over that profitable fence. Now, if you're still here after that amount of time, you're more than likely going to make it, because that is a commitment, and that means that you are really, really into trading beyond just the riches and the freedom that you could possibly get. But in this video, I want to speak about something and systems and the way your brain works that's really, really going to help you. Now, as we learn trading and as we learn anything else in our life, what do we normally do? Well, it's a learner bias. Well, what's a learner bias? It means that if we get more knowledge to get the skills, we'll improve. That would make sense. Get more knowledge to get the skills. Now, the problem is with traders, you've seen that many, many times. They've got all of this knowledge that I speak about, and they try and implement the skill, but it's not working for them because they're not doing the right thing. An example of this would be someone who wants to lose weight. How many times do you see this across the board? You want to lose weight, but rather than eating healthily or taking action at the gym, they sit down and they research and they tell you about every possible diet, whether it's keto, whether it's veganism, whether it's meat-only diet, carnivore, whether it's just fruit juices, and yet they're still not in shape. This is learning all the knowledge, believing that all that knowledge is going to give you the skills for you to lose weight. That is a learner-biased outcome. Big, big problem. Now, we've also then got outcome-based. Now, the outcome-based is very, very different, and it thinks people that are getting somewhere that they need to get to, because this is something that you need to understand. And how you're going to understand the outcome-based way of thinking is dopamine. Now, the outcome-based is based around dopamine. And as you know, we did a great video on dopamine when it came to trading a few months ago. Maybe 11,000 people have watched that now. Well done to you. But dopamine is how we run our day. And in trading, that can be a little bit of an issue. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's think of a dog. When he sits, you give him a treat. You know, the old experiment when it came to monkeys, they get bananas when they were doing certain tasks and achieving those tasks. That means that they do something and then they get a reward for that. That's how we see things in schools, in life, in marriage, in relationships, in sports. We take action from the knowledge that we've got, and then we build a reward system. Okay, now that's great. That's great. And that's probably how life works. People do more overtime to get more money. The problem with this for traders is huge. And why is this? Because the only time that we receive dopamine is when we win a trade. The only time we receive dopamine is when we win a trade. And I know you're smiling and you know you're thinking, wow, it's absolutely spot on. Now, the problem comes is when we lose a trade or when we have a losing day, we don't get the dopamine. And our belief system, our biological system, if we've built it on dopamine rewarding, all of a sudden we're not getting that dopamine and we don't know what to do. And then we go into revenge trading and then we try and chase that dopamine for the rest of the day. And then we get completely wrecked and completely blown. I know I've been there myself, and many of you watching these videos are there still now. Now, if everybody in this world has got two ways of learning, we've got the learning base, which is get the knowledge, don't really do the skill, maybe a little bit. Then we move forward and we've got outcome based, which is right, okay, we're doing this to get this, like in business, like in sports, like in anything else. But that doesn't work for trading. That's why it's so hard. What do we need to do? This is where the magic happens. There's something called a system-based focus, which is the SBF. No, it's not Sam Bankman-Fried, if you're familiar with the crypto space. It's a system-based focus way of doing things. Now, if the brain rewards humans and traders, etc., because of dopamine, we need to base the system on the dopamine. We need to base the system on the dopamine here. Now let's think about that. How would we do that? Well, what it means is if you've got your trade plan or if you've got your edge in the markets and you have your criteria to get into that trade, that is a system that you have built. That's why I speak about the way that I trade and the way that I teach people. It's a methodical way of trading because I've tried everything else before. Discretionary will always come into those things, but you must have a foundation. So once you've got the edge and a methodical way of trading, your system, you then have the dopamine win or lose when you follow the system. Now, there's many things that you would have done in your life where you had a set of rules, and regardless of the outcome, the dopamine came from you following those rules. You followed that system. And it's a lot easier for the brain to acknowledge the fact that you might be feeling uncomfortable, but I followed my rules, I did this, I could not do anything better, and that's the dopamine. If you can get a system and create the dopamine hits from you following the rules of the system, you will win in this trading game. So in my system and the way that I trade, people ask me, Fran, you're so calm when we do live trading on YouTube. You're just waiting. Why would you not get in there? I said, well, one, I've lost tens of thousands of pounds of not waiting and not building a system. And two, if I don't go with my system, I don't get the dopamine hit from my system. And then I'm chasing because I've gone against my rules. I've not taken accountability. I've then lost that trade. It all goes crazy. I've lost focus. I'm not centered. And then I go on revenge, or we go on tilt, as they say in the market. Whereas if you follow your system, even if you lose $500, $600, $700, $800, $1,000, $2,000, $50 in that trade, you are quite comfortable of stepping away and understanding that you followed your rules because you still had the dopamine hit. Very important that you understand that you are based on dopamine. Everything you do is based on dopamine. So if you sit down at night and you just say, oh, I just don't want to do anything, I'm just going to sit here, I'm just going to watch, I'm going to have Doritos, I'm going to have Dorito dust in my flabby belly, guess what's happening there? That's your dopamine to cover up the way that's going on the rest of the day. So if you can get that dopamine to just follow that system, whether it's a gym routine, whether it's a morning routine, I get dopamine by getting to the gym. I get dopamine by following a system in the mornings. I get dopamine by reading. What? You're probably saying? Yes, I changed going out, those types of things, living a certain lifestyle, because that was giving me dopamine and that was sabotaging my progress, to buying and reading books and hitting the gym and eating kale. That now gives me dopamine, or eating fruits. So going back to trading, I digress because I can go on a little bit. You must create a system-based way of trading, a system-based of living your life. I live my life on a system now. It sounds crazy, and people say, it might sound boring. I always say, I live a very boring life, but I'm never bored. I live a very boring life, but I'm never bored. Okay, so that means the daily disciplines in your life need to be systemized. If you don't have a system right now in what time you get up, what time you eat, what time you go to the gym, what time you spend time with your family, I can probably guarantee that you are a bit of a mess. And that's then going to relate into your trading. So when it comes to trading, is forget about the learning based. All right, number one, forget about the way you traditionally learn how to trade. It's very important. Forget about that. Not, I'm going to gain loads of knowledge and then I might do the skill. I've been recently going through that right now by building my program in the background, which I've been building it for about 6 months, and it should have only took me 2 or 3 months, right? And getting it out there. I've been getting loads of knowledge, and it's been procrastinating in getting everything out. I'm also doing that in the back end of 10 Wealth Group. I'm getting loads of knowledge, but then I'm slowly implementing when it should be speed, because I'm concentrating on trading and concentrating on the mentorship. So this is going to happen. You're going to have areas where you need to say, right, there needs to be a system based. And that's really going to help you along the way. But my trading is absolutely spot on. So number one, don't do the traditional learning bias. Number two, outcome-based focus is very good for your business, your weights, your gym program, your relationships, your job. Outcome-based is very good because you're going to get rewarded for that. And that's probably how most entrepreneurs and you as traders are going on. But for traders, you need to go to a system-based focus. What I want you to do this week is, after you've watched this video, go and check out your system, and then give yourself treats or reward yourself if you follow your system. Because when you start winning your trades and your system is being followed, the dopamine is going to go through the roof. So as always, God bless each and every one of you. See you on the next one. Have a great trading week. If you're not part of the community, make sure you get involved. We're live every day on YouTube, 9:30 till 10:30 UK time, to see if we can catch any trades for you and the rest of the community.